because this is the hey y'all, because this is the last episode of season 4. I had to come here in the South with the last episode of season 4. We are so excited to come to you for the last episode of season 4. It's just Bree and I. As you can see, we don't have anybody with us. It's just little old us because we wanted to level with you about all the great things that we talked about this season, some of our favorites, some of the things we've learned, as well as talk about next season and what we're looking forward to. We are just so grateful that you have been viewers with us probably through all 4 seasons, if not all 4 seasons in this season. And if it's just this episode, we are just grateful to have you here with us. If you are here with us for the first time, this is Beyond the Steps. We are a weekly video podcast that talks about everything performance athletics, including racism and equity, gender inclusion, nutrition, psychology, dance, medicine, and science. All those things together, sex abuse and prevention. We talk about it all and we answer the hard questions and we use experts to do it. Today, we don't have any experts. We just have us and we're excited to review our season with you. So, Bree, you want to talk about what today's going to look like?
Yeah, we're just going to chat. You know, we'd love to talk on this show. So we're going to talk about our favorite things from the season. What did we love? Because I feel like we don't get to talk about that enough. We're always worried about the next episode. Like, let's go back and look at, celebrate the victories, right? We made it through season 4. We're so proud, like Melissa said, that we're completing our 4th season of the show. I can honestly say that when we started this back in the pandemic that we had no idea it was going to become a regular thing. And it's something I really look forward to. I love doing this with you, Melissa, every week. It's just super fun. And I learn from you every single week that we're on this show and from all of our guests. It's a blast. So I'm so happy to have it part of our life and our ecosystem at Apollo. It's just so why not? Let's celebrate it. Let's dive in. Let's talk about the things that we really loved. So I'm going to kick off the first question. I'm going to say, what is your biggest takeaway or the lesson you learned from season 4 specifically of Beyond the Steps?
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
It's a tough one.
So many. Biggest takeaway. So I take away something from every single episode. Let's start there. Take away something from every single episode that we do.
Yeah.
But one of the ones that hit me the most, the biggest takeaway, just because I'm in the studio on a weekly basis with kids, was the one that we did with Lauren Newby back in February. And we talked about, should dance educators be tasked with teaching strength and conditioning classes?
That was a good one. That was a good conversation.
A good one. And it was an eye opener. And it was one of those that makes you go, of course I should, because I can do everything. But then you go, wait.
You really had to, we did. We had to check ourselves a little bit on that episode.
Yeah, like had to check big time. Because, you know, it's become a big thing. Like, oh, you should be strength training, you should be cross training, your kids should be doing this and doing that. And you should be doing exercises, you should be using weights, and you should be using resistance bands and blocks. And yeah, of course, I jumped right in because that's what everybody should be doing. But what Lauren did was really challenge, like, hey, do you know what you're doing? And I'm
really
like,
know what you're doing.
Like, really know what you're doing? Like, yeah, you're watching. Like, I've subscribed clearly. You know, being a part of this show, I'm very clear on having to subscribe to professional advice to be able to do anything like that. And I use Katie Groven from Dancer Fitness as my advisor to be able to manage those things. She's been a guest on the show before, and I use all of her programs and her weekly, chats with teachers to talk about it. But do I really know? Based on every child is different. Their bone structure, their muscle structure, the things that they have, the challenges that they have, the things that they are different. And am I really, really, really qualified to teach those classes at the high level that I'm teaching them? And I mean, I really had to interrogate and go, probably not.
And incorporating some of those movements into your classes is one thing, but having a separate, on its standalone, on its own training program that promotes consistent cross training and is injury risk management on a real true high level that's
Mhm.
a different story. That's a
Right.
different story.
It's a totally different story. And being able to, one of the things that she touched on in the episode was being able to interrogate yourself and go, when do I need help from somebody else? When do I need help from a professional? And understanding that you can't just flip the switch and go, okay, I'm not going to teach them, I'm going to hire somebody, because our budgets a lot of times don't account for that. But figuring out what can I do where I am and starting to build the network of people who you can have come in and help you and support you is so important. So that was my biggest takeaway from
Yeah.
season 4.
I loved how that episode really approached the conversation from all angles. Like, we talked about it from a budgetary perspective, from a
Mm-hmm.
director's perspective, from the kids' perspective, the parents. I mean, we were all encompassing in that conversation. It was really helpful. And I think, one of the problems that's going to continue to exist that we really have to push back on is there is undeniably ego involved in the dance world. I mean, that's so much of that. And this episode and other topics like it this season really challenge us to put that aside and focus on the greater good and what's best for the
Mm-hmm.
kids. And that doesn't always align with the bottom line of the studio or, our own wants and needs as directors or choreographers, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It was a good one. So go back and check that one out. That was from earlier this season. That was what,
February 2024 was when so you can find that on both Apollo Performance and at TP Dance Creation. So you can go back and check that one out. You really should. And thank you, Lauren. We love you.
Yeah, Lauren Newby. We love having Lauren, and I'm sure she'll be back with us on season 5 as well. But mine is a little more broad. If you're a fan of the show and you've watched us from season 1 till now, you'll know, primarily season 1 through 3, we're primarily speaking to dancers and our dance audience. And I think this year, specifically this season, we sort of broadened our reach and we're talking more to performance athletes, anybody that's doing something at a high level, because I think what we're realizing and talking to all these different guests is that you can insert any sport in the conversation. And we both have children that are doing things that are not dance related, but the parallels are just so similar. And so just being able to kind of cross into those other genres and what's happening with athletes in general and how all of these things affect athletes is really interesting to kind of learn the dynamics going on there. And what we've learned is that the same issues exist across all of those communities, right? But they can be managed, and it is
being managed better.
They can be managed, and sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it's a little easier. It really depends on who's at the helm, right, and who's figuring it out. But it is possible to work together to decrease the injury rates and improve the focus on health and wellness and putting the athlete first. And we recently did an episode with Laura Van Doren and Genevieve Geisler of where we talked about what is Drum Corps International or DCI, Marching Arts Safety and Health, and INSTEP, which are Marching Arts Safety and Health, or MASH, and INSTEP are two committees under the DCI umbrella, and what they're doing to protect and support and promote wellness among marching artists. And it's incredible. And I think that it really shines a light back to dance and some things that we could be doing to kind of further the conversation. So I'm excited to continue going down that rabbit hole. But it's been a lot of fun to sort of make that connection in season 4.
Yes, absolutely. We that one, when I saw what you were doing, I was like, that was on my list too. Because I did learn so much and learn so much to your point about, hey, they have a similar industry that deals with youth and they're performing and they're touring and they're traveling, and they seem to be so much further along in putting.
Because dance is always going to be, I mean, and I say this with Paula too, dance is always at the core of who we are as people. My life has I get to deal with dancers all the time, but also outside of dance and learning how all these other industries work and dealing with all sorts of athletes. And it's, but dance is in here as it is with so many of you watching. And I think for us, there's nothing more we want to see than the dance industry get stronger and continue
Right.
to evolve and be better and better and better. And I think it's very possible, is what I'm learning. Very, very possible.
Very, very possible. So it looks like we're about what, halfway through our episode probably. I don't know. Who knows how long we're actually gonna talk. But if you're just now joining us, it's just me and Bree. Hey y'all.
There it is again. There it is again.
There it is again. I'm letting my whole southern come all the way out. All the way out. We are recapping season 4, talking about some of our takeaways, our learning. You can watch this episode from the beginning, or you can stay here and watch this episode from the beginning a little bit later. But what we do want you to do is put in the comments, what is your favorite episode? What did you learn? What homework did you do this season? We want to know what you have going on, what you had going on this season, and what you learned from Beyond the Steps. So I want to talk next about, which episode were you most motivated or inspired by, Brie?
I think for me, it was another one at the end. I love all of our episodes, but I think the one that we did, I'm going to say two, the two we did at the end of the season with Mindy Jackson, who's the director of the Steps, Steps on Broadway, conservatory program, and then Amy Leifer, who's the head coach at Texas A&M Dance, the dance team for Texas A&M, and talking about the application and the audition processes for things, just applying for or auditioning for collegiate dance teams and collegiate programs, and then the application process for programs in general, and how instrumental that is. I think it's just very undervalued, hearing these tips from people that are taking in the applications, that are making the decisions about these programs, and just saying, like, look, your written application is equally as important as what you do when you show up to the audition. And here's what we want to see, and here's what we're not seeing. I just think there's such valuable insight from people that are on the other end of that. And rarely do we get to hear that. So I think it's really important for people to take time and go back and listen, and finding out too, that's really rocked my world, that it doesn't really start your senior year. And I think when I was in high school, my parents didn't know anything. They obviously supported me every way that they could, and were wonderful with that, but they only knew what they knew. We talk about that a lot on the show. And you think senior year, going into your senior year is when you really start. And it's not. It's really happening when you get to be a freshman in high school. And almost if you wait longer than that, I don't want to say behind. I don't want to panic anybody, but I mean, kind of that's the vibe that I got from those conversations, is like, don't wait until that point to start thinking about these things. Even if you don't know what your end game really is going to be, start putting a plan together for what you're going to apply for, what you're going to audition for, and start making yourself known to these people and these things starting your freshman year of high school. That was pretty cool to hear, and I think very valuable for people to hear.
Yeah, I think it is. And, we talk about not wanting to panic people and, are you behind? But they panic people in other industries, like football.
That's
my kid wants to play football. Oh my gosh, I want to go. I want to play college football. I want to play college football. Okay, so we hired a whole firm of people who will do recruiting with him and work through him from his freshman year.
Yeah.
To help him through that process. And no, it's not like, oh, I just decided I wanted to do it, so I'm behind. But there are different steps that you now need to take. If you did start as a sophomore or as a junior. So it's important to know that. And one of the things that really struck me when we're speaking to Amy from Texas A&M is there's a gap between studio and college dance team, where you're already expected to know what you need. A front aerial, left aerial, a right aerial, 552 8 counts of turns in second, apparently all in unison, that step straight into a front aerial. Like it's unbelievable, the things that you're expected to know when you go to auditions, but we don't know that at the studio level. So we're not trained to that. So then our kids are going, well, why didn't I get that training? There needs to be that bridge.
So basically, if you're a competitive dance studio dancer and you decide I want to dance in college, the climate and the environment in that collegiate space is very different. And so you can't just wake up, 2 weeks before a tryout and go, I'm going to pull an aerial today, and I've never done one. Like
Never done
you
one.
got to figure that out, right? And so, it really does take, I want to say, years of preparation if that's the route you want to go. And it's not something you can just, I'm sure you can. I'm sure it's just very rare to be successful at it, where you can wake up and decide this is what I want to do and not have that prior training or experience. So very interesting episode, I will say. So check that out. And thank you to Amy Lee for making time and joining us. And Mindy Jackson as well. 2 really great episodes that I believe were back to back.
Very cool. Very cool. That was our audition block.
What was your motivating, inspiring episode this season? I know there's a lot. It was hard to choose, but
it was hard to choose. But this one really stuck out to me. Susan Purcell talked about, why do starving artists still exist?
That was a fun one. That was a good conversation too.
Such a good conversation, because it led into a whole lot of historical, traditional, well, it's because the dance industry has been undervalued for so long that people feel like they don't have to pay for the value of what dance artists do, or artists in general. Or there's also this perpetuated idea that for the art I sacrifice, I must be.
It's like that badge of honor, right?
That badge of honor that I didn't eat today. I had to, oh my gosh, I wish I could remember. I think it was a Golden Girls episode. Here I go, quoting the Golden Girls, my favorite show in the whole wide world. But it was like, I'm a starving artist, a starving painter, and I had to burn my paintbrushes last night to get heat. It's like this badge of honor to be overworked, burnt out, underpaid, injured for the love of the art. And Suzanne came in and was like, no, that is not appropriate. That is not how this needs to work. That is not what needs to happen. We need to stand up as an industry and demand that these artists be paid for their talent. And that's artists, teachers, choreographers, that's painters, that's actors, that's everybody. And we focused it a lot on dance because there's no regulation around, that. So I learned a lot, and I was inspired to really, when we come to hiring choreographers and paying people to come in, we need to make sure that we have the budget for that, and that those people are paid accordingly, and that they are put in working conditions, living conditions, lodging conditions, transportation conditions, eating conditions that are conducive to the fact that they are an athlete. They're an artistic athlete, but they're an athlete, and we need to definitely make sure that we are stepping up and treating that as such. So that was my favorite. Thank you, Suzanne, for
Suzanne. That was a great conversation too. So if you're just joining, I'm Bree with Paula, Melissa from Turning Point Dance Creations. We're your girls for Beyond the Steps. Every Friday, we're here talking to you. This is our wrap up of season 4. We just finished 4 seasons. We're talking about all the things that, the highlight moments, the ones that stood out for us personally for season 4. We definitely want to hear what you think about it. So drop us a line in any of the comments or message us info@Apollo Performance. And while you're at it, be sure to like, share, subscribe on all platforms and on YouTube at Apollo Performance and TP Dance Creations. You can see all of our episodes, season 1 through 4, available on those platforms. So go back and watch them all. You'll be thoroughly entertained, and it'll give you something to think about for sure. But so the last thing is, we're already planning for season 5. I just said, we want you guys to get caught up on episodes, but we're already knee deep in planning for season 5, and our wheels are turning. And we have some things that we're going to introduce to make it a little different from previous seasons. Melissa, what's the one thing that you're really looking forward and wanting to dive into for next season?
I didn't have any trouble with this one.
No?
I want to talk about an organized effort to put checks, balances, recommendations, and regulations in place for the competitive dance space. Mm-hmm. Period. And I know, oh my gosh, here comes all the email. I want I was a competitive dancer, I'm a competition director, I'm a competition judge, I'm a convention teacher. I am in the space and I know how hard it will be to do it. And I understand the full breadth of the changes that would have to happen, even on my end, in all of those roles. It may make it harder, but it is absolutely necessary. And I want to talk about what it would take to do it.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating. Like you don't want to hear the excuses anymore, the reasons why not. It's like, let's get it done. Let's make it
Right,
happen.
right.
Because I think that's what we learned. And going back to what we were talking about earlier, is I think we know now more than ever, it is 100% possible that it is
Right.
not, it's not out of reach. Like all the reasons that we've heard really like over the years of why it doesn't exist in this space don't
Uh-huh.
really hold up. They don't hold water very well.
No.
So I think for us, I totally agree with you. I think that's a great goal for next
I
season.
mean, it doesn't. And we have to ask the hard questions because now, like you said, as we've been branching out in season 4 and talking to other people in other industries, specifically marching arts and also like dance
Cheer,
people, we did dance
cheer,
teams and
dance. Yeah,
cheer, and last season we talked to baton, like we
yeah.
talked to people in that space. We have to ask ourselves, they're way far ahead of us in having these things, and they work with youth and they have artistic elements and they do all of that stuff. So why
And that's a great segue into mine, because that's my sort of going further on what I said earlier is to continue in season 5 to dive into the parallels of other athletics so that we can better understand the
mm-hmm,
dynamics of our performance athletes. What can we do better in the dance space? How can we learn from people who have already figured it out? And
mm-hmm,
how can we apply standardization in there? So, I mean, I think we're thinking the same way about season 5. It's because we've talked to so many people outside of it who have found success in it. And
mm-hmm,
so, and I think sometimes as dancers, we get very immersed in our ecosystem and our universe, and it's wonderful, right? Because there's nobody like dancers and nobody speaks this language. But I think sometimes that can work against us because our eyes are not open to what's going on around, and people are solving problems that we're having problems with right now.
right, solving
Right.
them. And it's
Yeah.
taking work, but they're solving them.
And
They're
it's not perfect. I think that's the other thing is it's very clear that it's going to take a long time to, it's not like you make up your mind that this is going to happen and then everything works seamlessly. It's going to take time and steps and a drastic shift in the way,
mm-hmm,
things are done to accomplish what we want to accomplish and protecting these athletes.
right, exactly. So we're going to be diving in season 5. If you have any topics that you want to talk about in season 5, please drop them in the comments. We would love to hear what you would like to talk about. We are not going to let this episode go without our weekly staple of homework. We are going to give you homework, and you got like all summer
Of
to do
course
this.
we are. Of course we are. We have to end it on a strong note, end it
Right,
on a high
strong
note, right?
note. You have all summer to do this homework because it's a biggie. Go back and listen to all of the Beyond the Steps episodes, season 1, 2, 3, 4, all available on YouTube at Apollo Performance and at TP Dance Creations, or on Facebook at Apollo Performance and at TP Dance Creations. They are in playlists. They are there. They are there for you, and we have the whole gamut of topics that you can choose from. So your homework is to
Wait,
go.
wait, wait. Before you go on, I
Uh-huh.
want to tell you, I'm going to give a big declaration. Season 1 and 2, we were still figuring it out. So we were not on this fabulous platform. It was
No.
very raw. It was very
Raw.
raw. But the content is fab. The
Yes.
content is amazing. So,
Yes.
we have ourselves a little system now, but those earlier seasons, it's all about the content.
Yeah,
So
it's
listen,
about the
listen,
content.
listen,
Just
listen.
overlook that. Overlook that. Please,
Oh my
please.
God, we were trying to do Instagram, Facebook, everything. We had like 5 devices in front of us at all
Yes.
times. It was laggy
It was
sometimes.
feedback. Oh my gosh.
But the
But you know
content
what?
cannot
Appreciate
be
it. We
denied.
appreciate the progression. I want you to go watch an episode 1 and then go and watch an episode 4 and comment and go, y'all got it together. Okay? All the way together. And also comment, and y'all still look fabulous after 4 years. I would also like for you to go at Bree, at Melissa. You haven't changed a bit in 4 years.
Because, I was in my 30s when we started this show, and now I'm not. So,
Yeah, I had just turned 40. And no. We started on my 40th birthday, I think.
We sure did.
It was my October 2nd, 2020. 41st birthday.
Now I'm going to do it, y'all.
Y'all.
No.
We also want you to take the Steps Initiative. We've been saying it for 4 years, everybody, and we'd love for you to do it. It's totally free. It is a collection of resources, classes, courses in racism, equity, gender inclusion. Integrative dance was in at that point. Psychology, nutrition, dance medicine, and science, sex abuse and prevention, all curated by experts. So please take that. It is totally free and it's a great place to start to apply all of the knowledge that we have been screaming about for the past 4 years.
And we'll continue to scream about, and it will continue to be free. So please, please, please take it. If you're a director, take it. Coach, take it. Have your staff take it. Have your students and parents take it. It's great for everybody. It's just a great foundation and a way to kind of start your journey, because when you know better, you do better. That is the premise of this show. Is we want you to do more of what you love, and that's mind, body, soul, inside out, head to toe, healthy. But yeah, you guys, that's it. That's a wrap on season 4. Melissa, high five. You're leaving me hanging. You high five me.
I'm like,
so thank you all so much for all of your support, for listening every week, for sharing Beyond the Steps with your community. Please continue to do that. You have your homework this summer. Melissa, thank you for all the work that you do and all the love you pour into the show. Like I said earlier, I love doing this with you every week. Wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. And to our teams at Apollo, Casey, and our team behind the scenes, thank you so much for all the work you do to keep us going and keep promoting. Gregory and the team at Turning Point Dance Creations, thank you for all the work you do on this show. We could not do this without any of you guys. And for all of you out there, make sure to go like, subscribe, follow, share everything on Facebook, YouTube, at Apollo Performance, and at TP Dance Creations. Again, seasons 1 through 4, go take a listen and comment on how we've gotten it together in 4 seasons. We got to celebrate the little wins. You know what I'm saying? But we will be back bigger and better than ever for season 5 this October. Stay tuned. Until then, we hope you continue your journey beyond the steps. Everybody have a wonderful summer.